What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be talking about and ranking the albums of one of my all-time favorite hard rock bands, Van Halen. A bit of background on them for those of you who don't know. They formed in 1972 in Pasadena, California. Have released 12 studio albums throughout the years, which is what I'll be ranking here today. Eddie Van Halen on guitar, one of the absolute best of all time. Such a great, distinctive tone. Some of the best riffs and solos ever written. Alex Van Halen on the drums, really great as well. Somewhat overlooked in my opinion though, due to everyone always talking about how great Eddie is. Michael Anthony on bass was really great when he was in the band. His vocal harmonizations with Eddie Van Halen, some of the best of all time. And then as far as lead vocals go, you had David Lee Roth, Sammy Hagar, and Gary Cherone throughout the years. Won't really get into that right now because it'll give away my list if I say who I like the best and all that. But as far as this goes, going to rank them 12 to 1, my least favorite to my favorite. Just my opinion as usual. Here we go. Starting off the list at number 12's got to be Van Halen III. No surprise here. This is pretty much universally thought of as their worst album. Came out in 1998. They're only one to feature Gary Cherone on vocals. He's a pretty good singer, just sounds weird with Van Halen, and overall, just a pretty forgettable, pretty boring album here. Looking at the track listing, got 12 songs. I mean, Fire in the Hole is alright. That last song on here, what's it called? How Many Say I? That's the one where Eddie Van Halen sings. It's maybe the worst Van Halen song of all time. Just overall, hardly ever go back to this. Don't care for it at all. Van Halen 3, number 12. Next up at number 11 is Balance. Came out in 1995. This is their last with Sammy Hagar on vocals. Overall, not a terrible album. Just again, think it's kind of boring. There is a few good songs on here though. Looking at the track listing, gonna say Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do is pretty good. Big Fat Money and probably Aftershock are the three standouts to me. Of course, Eddie Van Halen's still there doing guitar, so there is some great guitar work here and there. I know there are people that love this album, that's alright, but for me, gotta put it down at number 11, Balance. Next up at number 10 is 5150. Came out in 1986, and it is their first album to feature Sammy Hagar on vocals. Here's where I might make some people a little mad, because I know a lot of people think this one is one of their better albums. Just for me, compared to the original Roth era, this one just sounded so much different, and the hits on it are poop, and there's a few pretty good songs on here, like Get Up is pretty fast-paced and good. The title track, Inside, is alright. But, you know, too much keyboards, and keyboards, when done right, I like. Just, in Van Halen, a lot of the time, just doesn't sound too good to me. Still a decent album, but is number 10, 5150. Coming in at number 9 is OU812. Came out in 1988, the second album to feature Sammy Hagar on vocals. Overall, a bit better and more consistent than 5150, I think. A bit more hard rocking, not quite as many keyboards, and when there is keyboards, sometimes it sounds pretty good here. So looking at this track listing, Mine All Mine, a song that has a good bit of keyboards, but it's kind of dark sounding. It's just overall a good song. Looking at the rest of these, AFU Naturally Wired is good. Source of Infection, one of the absolute best Van Hagar songs. And probably Black and Blue, the standouts. Overall, pretty good album. OU812, number 9. Next up at number 8 is Diver Down. Came out in 1982. Overall, a pretty good album. 12 songs. There's 5 covers on it, though, which is kind of weird. That's a little much. The original songs on here, though, some of their best, honestly. Hang 'Em High and The Full Bug absolutely rip. Top 20 Van Halen songs of all time. Little Guitars, very good as well. This one usually is thought of as the worst original Roth era album, but it is still pretty good. Diver Down, number 8. Next up at number 7 is the 2012 album, A Different Kind of Truth. This is their most recent release, and I think this catches a lot of unfair flack because of the song Tattoo, which somehow became the song that was played all over the radio for this album, and it sucks. But if you go through and listen to the whole album, you'll find that there's actually a good bit of solid material on here. Looking at the track listing, She's the Woman, Chinatown, As Is, Honey Baby Sweetie Doll, which is a stupid name for a song, but it's a good song. Out of Space, Stay Frosty, Big River, all really good, fast-paced, hard-rocking songs. Eddie Van Halen shredding all over it. So overall, if you kind of dismissed and brushed this album off when it first came out, I definitely recommend you go back to it and check out those songs I listed. A Different Kind of Truth, number 7. Next up at number 6 is for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. Here's where it gets pretty tough for me because I think the rest of these are all really good. This album here, to me, is easily their best with Sammy Hagar on vocals. They kind of went back to their roots, less keyboards, more hard rocking. A lot of great riffs and solos all over the album. Looking at this track listing, some favorites I'd say are Pound Cake, Judgment Day, and Spanked. 3 great songs to start off the album. Judgment Day, probably the best on the record. And some more good ones. You got Pleasure Dome, which is a good, cool song. Right Now, even though it's kind of more mainstream, has an epic intro, not gonna lie. But overall, a good album here. FUCK, number 6.
On my block, and I see the same old faces, and I hear that same old talk.
Fair Warning comes in at number 5. Came out in 1981. Got the CD. Got it on vinyl right there on the wall, actually. You can just see it in the corner. Don't want to take it down. But, yeah, this is a really good album. Mean Street to open it up. One of the best album openers of all time. A top 5 Van Halen song. Absolutely amazing. Sinner's Swing and probably Unchained are my 3 favorites, but you know, some pretty good underrated stuff on here. Sunday Afternoon in the Park, Into 1 Foot Out the Door are kind of different sounding, pretty cool songs. Dirty Movies is cool. Hear About It Later is good. Just overall a good consistent album here. Fair Warning, number 5. Next up at number 4 is 1984. Great album. Yes, Jump is way overplayed and pretty much sucks, but besides that, the rest of this stuff is really good. Looking at these songs, there's 9 of them. Hot for Teacher, Girl Gone Bad, and House of Pain, my 3 favorites, but of course Top Jimmy, Panama, I'll Wait, which I'll Wait's an example of a song where the keyboards work. That one sounds really good. And Drop Dead Legs is really great as well. Just overall, great album, 1984, number 4.
And the Creole will ride. Yes, the Creole will ride. And I say rock crawl. Ooh, rock crawl.
Next up is Women and Children First, another really strong album. The first 3 are all so good, very tough to rank, but looking at this track listing, a few favorites I'd say are Romeo Delight, Fools, and Take Your Whiskey Home. But of course, a lot of other great ones on here, and The Cradle Will Rock, Everybody Wants Some, Loss of Control. Just a really great, consistent album. Women and Children First, number 3. Van Halen II comes in at number 2. Really amazing album. Has a lot of their heaviest, most hard rockin' stuff on it. So many great songs. Looking at this track listing, Out of Love Again, Somebody Get Me a Doctor, You're No Good, Bottoms Up, Beautiful Girls, Spanish Fly, which is a really impressive acoustic instrumental by Eddie. DOA is great, and of course, Light Up the Sky, my absolute favorite song on the album. One of their best songs of all time. Really heavy, great, fast riff. And this album, definitely a top 10 favorite hard rock album of all time for me. Got the inside sleeve there with some cool pictures of the guys. So yeah, just one of the best of all time here. Van Halen 2, number 2. And taking the number 1 spot has got to be the self-titled debut from 1978. Very few bands in the history of rock and roll have been able to put out an album this good as their first release. Ridiculous how good this is. The track listing looks like a greatest hits. You Really Got Me, Jamie's Crying, On Fire, which is a really great, somewhat overlooked song. Running with the Devil, I'm the One, which is my favorite Van Halen song of all time. Killer opening riff, just overall fantastic song. Ain't Talking About Love, Little Dreamer, Feel Your Love Tonight, Atomic Punk, Eruption, and Ice Cream Man. Fantastic, great, consistent album. One of the best in the history of rock and roll. My number 1 Van Halen album, their self-titled debut. So that does wrap up my ranking of their discography. And as you could tell, I am clearly on the side of David Lee Roth when it comes to the Roth versus Hagar debate. Sammy Hagar, head-to-head, probably the better singer, but as far as who's the better frontman and showman, whose voice fits Van Halen's sound better, David Lee Roth all day, in my opinion. But that's just me. You guys can let me know what you thought. Give me your ranking in the comments. And until next time, thank you for watching.